this is also with a new process video. Today I'm going to start with a little longer project, and this is outing that we did during our stay at Hölik, and I have planned, as you can see, 5 layouts from this occasion, but I'm going to change that up a bit because I felt that I could include some of the photos in pocketed inserts instead, and that will hopefully become a better solution, and then I can focus on the best photos and make pages for those. So this will not be what I was planning from the start, but it will become better. And today I'm going to work with these 3 photos. They were taken at the fisherman's village at Hölik, and the day was just lovely. I almost got this this was a moment when I felt that I had gone to heaven, because this was so beautiful and it reminded me so much about the coast from where I grew up, that I felt almost like I had been transported there. During, you know, when you got kids, you have these words in your vocabulary like portals, and the more kind of science fiction traveling type of adventure, and this was definitely one of those moments that I felt that I have been transported in space and time to somewhere completely different. And I took hundreds of photos this outing. Loved it, every single second of the stay there, and that's probably why I have had such problem starting the project and also deciding on which photos to use. So I have plenty printed from this occasion. This layout turned out to become one of the best I've ever done. So this will take 20 minutes of your time, but it will end with the most beautiful project that I've ever done, in coastal scrapbooking at least. And this is the foundation, and now it's going to be the embellishment, which is the process, really. I had an idea that I was going to do a net, like a fishing net, and then I started looking online after how to build a net, and that turned out to be quite an complicated process. So I decided to do something fake instead. So this will be a faux net, and I took just these. It's cotton string. I think they use it for like when you're weaving like rugs and stuff. And I have a whole spool of that in our crafting cabinet. And I took a bunch of meters of that, a couple of meters, and then I double folded it until I had like 6 or 7 strands, and then I started tying knots. And I tied from one side I tied 2 together, and then the next 2 together, and then the next 2, and then I changed so that I tied the ones next to each knot. This is completely hopeless to this is impossible to explain by word. You'll have to look at the screen what I'm doing. So I'm alternating which strands to tie together until it forms sort of a net, and this will be my fishing net that will go on the side of the layout. And it took a while to make it. It actually took the good portion of the day, really, because I did a couple of tries before I did this one, and they ended up in the waste bin because it didn't turn out the way I wanted it to. And I also had some problems, you know, going from idea to realization, and I got lost a couple of times, but I still thought that the idea was so good that I needed to continue it. And it was one of those ideas that I never had done before, and it felt really interesting to see what I could come up with. And now this is the close-up portion where I think it's as it shows us best what I'm doing, and yeah, it turned out really well. I think that the thread or the thread here, the twine, was really hard to work with because it was getting messy all the time, and it was kind of sticking together in one way, and then where I wanted it to stick together it didn't. So it took some patience, and I needed to straighten everything up over and over again to make sure that I did correct. But I continued like this until I got roughly 12 inches of netting in this width, and then it looked like something like this. My first thought was to keep the net in this natural color, but at the same time I felt that it looked a little bit too clean. It didn't look like a fishing net, it looked like something that was hanging on a wall. And I didn't like that, because I felt that I could make it look more like a genuine used, worn fishing net that had actually been used to catch fishes. So I decided to dye it with my scrapbooking inks and dyes that I have in my cupboard. And I chose a couple of brown colors, and just by placing it in this box and spraying it with the different colors, I managed to get a really nice color. I'm just messing around, or I'm just mixing the yarn or the thread with the ink that is on the bottom of the box, and then I realized that it didn't stick as good as I had wanted it to the dry thread. So I mixed it up with some water, and then it lost a bit of the color because it diluted the color, and then I needed to get it up, but now it was wet, so it responded to the color much better, and it soaked up the color much better. And I continued to just spray and add a couple of green tones as well to make it a more natural and a more varied color throughout the net. So some portions of it is more brown and some are more green. And I even add a little bit of Heidi Swap color shine to give it a little bit of sparkle as well. I thought that was really sweet, and it made a very nice effect. The fun thing with treating it with watercolor inks was that it became much more easy to work with, because it almost like it made the fibers, it made them more stiff, and even when the net dried, it became more stiff. So that was a really good idea to color it, because it made the process of handling it much easier. Now I'm going back to the layout while the net is drying, and I'm just adhering the main photo block to the white background page. When the net was dry, it was time to just see how I could adhere this to the page. And I felt that it should go on the left side of the photo block. It wasn't that much information in the photos right there, and I felt that it could hang there over the photo block, and like a fisherman having nets on a drying rack next to the fishing houses at the seaside. I remembered having seen glass floats on nets as a kid, and I decided that I was going to go through the kids' collection of pony beads and see if I could find some that could be my floats on this net. Instead of having the floats at the top of the net, I decided to bring them to the bottom of the net and use them as ending points on the threads that was left sticking out from the net. So I'm going to thread these plastic beads. They are semi-transparent and in like sea colors, and I'm placing them at the lower part of the net where the ends of the thread was sticking out. So these will be the ending points, and I will cut off the threads where these beads are. And to make them to stick to the net, I'm going to pour glue into the beads, and then when they set, they will be stuck to the net. While I was doing this, I sat next to hubby. He was sitting next to me by his desk, and he said, "Oh, you should have a boat there." And that hadn't been my idea from the beginning, that I should have a boat, like trawling the net. But it grew on me, and I decided to make a boat. First, I felt that I was going to find one among the cutouts, but I didn't. And then I felt that I was going to cut out one with the silhouette cameo, but I couldn't find the right one. So instead, I decided to draw one myself. And I had a picture reference on the screen while I was drawing, just the right type of boat that I wanted to have, and I kind of stylized it a bit and made it more simple. And I drew on a kind of heavy piece of cardstock, and just with a pencil, the important lines. And then I brought out my Pro marker pens and started coloring it in just the stylized version, almost like a cartoon boat, in the way that I wanted. I'm making it brown and red and white, and I will later come back with a black pen and fill in the outlines so that it becomes more visible or more stylized and more clear to watch. And I remember that I told hubby that I must remember to do this more often, because I love when I can draw my own drawings and use them as die cuts on the pages, because they become so much more personal, and they reflect a lot more of me, which I think is so important when you're doing art and creative work, that it's your work. And this is really not hard, and just like this drawing a boat, it's not complicated. My drawing skills can really pull this off, I think, and I with the tools that I have at hand and the markers and everything, this is not impossible at all, and it's so much fun, and it becomes just the way I want it to be, instead of just going through a die cut package and using what you can find there. It's obviously never the perfect match. and since I love making like themed pages like this, I thought that was I need to remember this, and I must use this technique more often. To give the piece a little bit more weight, I glued it with a glue stick onto another piece of cardstock to make it double weight. And then I'm just, with my silhouette scissors, I'm cutting out the boat so that it becomes a die cut. Yeah, my die cut. and it was really not a long process, and it wasn't hard. It was just very enjoyable, and I felt that the creative process of making my own die cut, it was worth every second of the process. And if I hadn't spent so much time looking for pre-made embellishments and pieces that I could cut with the silhouette cameo, this had been a fairly quick process. So it wasn't a drawing that took the time, it was the process up until I started to draw that was the long part of the process. So here's my boat, and I'm totally out of focus, I think. But soon it will become better. I made the boat so that it would fit perfectly in the space that I had, and yeah, now that was better. And now it's time to just piece everything together and make this a scrapbooking page with my own embellishments. So the rest of the video will be kind of gluing and making a title. The title for this page will be Fiskeläget i Hölik, and that basically means the fisherman's village in Hölik. And I'm going to write that with a cutout from the Silhouette Cameo. And the font that I'm using here soon, it's called Autumn in November, and it's a script font that is new to me and I love it. I have realized that I want to use it on all my layouts from now on, and it's a script font. It's free of charge. I have downloaded it from thefont.com, and it's absolutely beautiful. You will see it in just a little bit. I'm adhering the net there with some liquid glue, and I'm just trying to form it in the way that I want to, and I'm putting some glue onto the photo just to make it stick in the right position. Here is that large piece of script font, and you can see here why I love it. It is so it's so round and it's so curly and just lovely. It looks like the perfect piece. And there, the boat had to change a bit, because my die cut was too large. The last T there of the text, I had to cut it off and make it a little bit shorter because it was taking up too much space towards the right, and it couldn't go there because it was off the edge. But I just cut off that little bar on the T, and then I put it down again, so it just got shorter, and I felt that was a good idea. That was possible to do when I had a cutout like this. So that font there is called Autumn in November, and I downloaded it from thefont.com, my favorite place to go for free fonts. The name of the place I'm writing in a much more strict font. It's the Arial, and I made it bold, I think. That's the font that I like to use for any sans serif projects. And I love to combine a script font with a much more graphic or like sans serif font like this. I think it becomes a very nice combination. I'm drawing a pen line or two pen lines all around the page as a border, and yeah, this is the finished project. Here are some close-ups of the layout, and I hope that you have enjoyed this process as much as I did. I love the result. This will most definitely be one of my favorite layouts in the albums that I've done over the years, and I'm so proud of the net and how the little boat turned out, and yeah, this is me. If I'm ever asked what a typical Åsa Malm layout is, I think that I will bring this one up. I love it. Thank you so much for watching, and thank you so much for being part of my creative process. Take care. This is Åsa. Bye.